awards, agreements, and contracts, how they apply to workers in their industries. So, there are a number of forms of documentation related to an individual's employment within a specific industry. Three types of documentation that will impact on the individual's employment within their specific industry include industry awards, registered agreements, and contracts. So, firstly, we have industrial awards. Okay, an award is a ruling handed down by either Fair Work Australia or the State Industrial Relations Commission, which applies to an entire industry and grants all wage earners within that specific industry the same minimum condition of employment and wages. Elements related to an industrial award include the minimum wage possible for all workers within that industry, as well as elements related to their working conditions, from which all organizations within that specific industry must follow. So, in our area of the ICT industry, if you're a programmer, then there is a specific industrial award for programmers that outlines their minimum wage and elements related to their work, and it must be abided by every organization who hires programmers, okay, based on the industrial award. So, in order to summarize, it applies to the whole industry. Everyone in that industry should get those same minimum requirements. Now, next from here is a registered agreement. This is established at an organizational level. So we're talking different companies or different companies who are all a part of the same wider organization. They would all follow the same registered agreement. So registered agreements involve a consensus being made between workers and employers of a company related to their work. Unions may act on behalf of employees when bargaining registered agreements with an employer. Once approved, a registered agreement will then be implemented for a fixed period. So that means it might be active for 3 to 5 years, somewhere within that region. Upon which, at the conclusion of that time period, a new agreement will then need to be bargained once again in order to update the actual wages and break time and whatever in line with elements such as inflation and costs of living, so that all workers within that industry can keep up with their same quality of living with those changes going on in wider society. The agreement must satisfy the requirements of the industry's existing industrial award. Okay, so it can't like undo what's already been established in the award. Then from there can specify elements related to payment and conditions of all workers who work within that specific company. Okay, so based on what's going on in the industry, we then can now tweak it, okay, for our specific company. So essentially, we could make it that if you work for our company, you get paid more than the award wage for working in our company. That might attract people to work at our company. An agreement must be approved by a registered within the Fair Work Commission before its implementation. So what we've got to understand with registered agreements here is they apply to a specific organization and they're agreements made between employees and employers, and unions can act on behalf of employees when bargaining a registered agreement for their organization. The final level here is that of general contracts. Okay, a document of contract is created for a specific employee. Now, it could be a specific employee or group of employees, depending on the circumstance. A contract might relate to promotions, specialized work, temporary work, fixed term employment, or the outsourcing of work, in which the duration of employment, payment, and required outcomes of the contract of work would need to be established between the employee and the individual or group. Okay, so it's a very specific type of work this might be. So I said it might be a promotion. You get promoted to a manager, you're going to get paid more. Okay, for being that manager. And that needs to be set in contract. But the duty and requirements of your works in order to be a manager would exceed that of the average worker. So that also needs to be specified. What work needs to be done if you are going to be a manager. Same if it's project work. You've got to meet these outcomes within a 3 month deadline, okay, for that organization, and you'll be paid at this rate. So the contract needs to outline the payment conditions relevant to the unique situation of the employee. All right, and what's actually required for them under that contract. Okay, and it also must exist within the levels of the industrial award and the existing registered agreement as well. Okay, and then apply whatever special unique circumstances to the individual's contract in line with those. Okay, so essentially with the contract, we're talking about a document that applies specifically to an individual or group of individuals for specific work. So I hope this video has given you an understanding of the difference between awards, agreements, and contracts. Okay, the easiest way to kind of remember it is who they apply to. So an industrial award applies to everyone within a specific industry. A registered agreement applies to everyone within a specific company or organization, and contracts apply to individuals. Okay, and all three of them, okay, will apply to an individual worker. They all must reference each other, essentially in a hierarchy. We've got to count the industrial award first. From there, we develop the registered agreement, and from there, contracts can be made to individual employees there. Okay, all referencing each other and factoring in their requirements.